I think we're back up. Not entirely sure. That was very strange. Oh, there's a notification from myself to myself that I am now live. Thank you everybody for coming back. Not sure what happened there, but let's give this a try. So we're gonna do this as a new game on normal because I do not remember things. Ooh. Interesting.
I'm an astronaut aboard the Nomad. Passenger on a line that connects Earth to Ganymede, a moon of Jupiter. Until something happened. When I awoke from cryonics, I wasn't in orbit around Ganymede. In fact, I wasn't even in the solar system anymore. I was out there.
Unbelievable. I see an unknown space station. Is it of alien origin? I may find help there. Oh, let me question my decisions here. I think this is giving me the initial tutorial, but I may... Yeah, okay. I'll have to come back into the game in a second and turn up the music. We're currently still running on the no-thoughts head empty, but that'll work for now. To reach the space station, tap it, then tap orbit. Now, this game was originally made for tablets, if that wasn't... Ooh, interplanetary reactor is out of order. Check our ships tab. Well, there's quite a lot of work to do. Propulsion is down. Let's repair that. Take some time to fill the fuel tank, which runs on hydrogen and helium. Okay. Top up our oxygen and repair the hull. Okay, back to the star map. Ship is ready to fly. This is so loud! The subliminal message engraves in me words so strange I have feelings and sensations I did not know until now. It points me to a star. Does it mean I have to go there? And there is very, very far from here. I see the schematics of the new equipment, the space folder. Okay. The technology will allow me to travel between stars. I'm going to try to build it with the remaining resources. I think I can dismantle the cryonics module to gather some silicon. If I can travel faster between the stars, it won't be of any use anyway. Places me in cryostasis during long jumps, such as the trip from Earth to... Oh, okay. I'm sorry for the volume. It's working! I can't believe it! Now I'll be able to jump from star to star. The entire galaxy is within my reach. Select a star to know more about it. A yellow dwarf. Or a yellow dwarf. Or... Nope, just a yellow dwarf. Select travel to make your first interstellar journey. Let's hope you'll find the way back to Earth. Day 18.
I'm concerned that all the solitude will make me difficult to live with. To maintain my social skills, I'm busy enlarging my circle of imaginary friends. Progress saved. Okay, now that the progress... There we go. Let's change this up a little bit. Notes outside empty. You're great, but I don't need you right now. We've got built-in music. Ooh, maybe. Where's the music? Let's see what happens when I actually get onto a planet. Oh, there's no music. Settings. There we go. So, one of the things... Yeesh, that's still pretty loud. Okay. Try not to nuke people's eardrums. One of the things you have to do in order to make your way from place to place in this game is collect resources for your ship to continue repairing it and to do upgrades to build other kinds of hardware. Like we needed the silicon there, and you can't always just scrap a part on your ship. Sometimes you have to drill. So we're going to spend some fuel here. And you'll note that it goes from yellow to red when I go to the high fuel costs. This will allow us to drill deeper, but it risks breaking the drill. Got some platinum, some iron, and silicon. This is going to be useful. Okay, so we'll finish here. Take off. And... that's a gas giant. It has fuel. But we're starting to run short on oxygen. But we're going to have to get some fuel no matter what, so... Sudden pressure surge destroyed my probe. I was quite shaken as well. I'll have to rebuild it. Drilling this deep can be hazardous. Some equipment's been destroyed, but you've gathered platinum from it. Okay. So I'll do this. Leave behind 2 of those. Finish. Go back to the ship. We're going to use up as much of this as we can. Okay. And we go back to the star map and we do our next warp. A white dwarf, a red dwarf. We'll avoid the yellow. Let's check out the white one. I sing an ode to the man who flies through infinite space, his arms flung wide. With arms wide open, welcome to this planet. Let's see. If you look at our ship, we're doing all right on resources and stuff right now. We've got fuel to spare. We've got some extra iron. Oh, I do need to build a new hydrogen probe. Those are important. Okay. So we're going to avoid this rocky planet and just move on. A supernova? A black hole. Yeah, that's even worse. Okay. I guess we're going to a supernova and hope we don't die. I regained some measure of hope. Since the beginning of my adventure, I have learned new technologies and discovered new ways to elude death. There's no reason this process should stop. I believe that someday I will find a way to jump from one galaxy to another and find my way back home. Garden planet! Alright, so now we can get more oxygen. Let's go to this garden planet. Let's see what we got down here. The breathable atmosphere of this planet has allowed me to restore my oxygen supply. Oh, this is beautiful. One of the things that came with Omega Edition when they updated the game was all these incredibly detailed backgrounds, because it used to be more like the comic book art style that the game showed in the original like intro movie, and I liked it a lot. But this is beautiful. I wish more space games that I play had something like this. Also, hello Cole, good to see you. Alright, let's drill and see what we find. Lots of oxygen and carbon. Repair that. Okay. Whoop. And... oh, we could only choose to drill or encounter life. You can't do both. Okay. Well, that sucks. Let's go over here. Yes, I'm aware. Well, actually... oh, I'm gonna have to stop on that rocky planet. That is not good. It's a lot of damage I've taken. I didn't even realize. Alright, see you shortly. What is this? Cocoon. A mysterious cocoon made of stone threads. As I walk over its surface, I can feel its heat. It vibrates like a living being. What will emerge from this strange thing? You got lots of hydrogen, which is good, I suppose, but... we're out of iron, so I'm gonna have to drill for that. Okay. Alright. I don't know what the thorium gets used for. We'll finish. Come back for more. I'll go to another place for more stuff, I suppose. I hope our hole doesn't crack. So we're about to take off. A red dwarf. At least it's not a black hole. It's raining meteorites! The good news is I'm still alive. One of my devices took the brunt of the damage. The bad news is the device was completely destroyed. Lost the hydrogen probe. Again. Repair. Okay. So, let's slurp up to some hydrogen, grab some oxygen. Repair the hole. Drill. Oh, wow. Okay. So we got hafnium, tungsten, and more iron. I could really use some cargo space on this ship. Jeez. I know that platinum and tungsten are both very useful in this game. I don't know what hafnium gets used for. I need the repairs right now, though. I know that carbon doesn't get used very often. Okay. Oh wow, that used everything. Same with that almost. Okay. Two different rocky planets. What's on the ship? We need more fuel. So we're gonna have to go to the gas giant. Well, that'll do for now, I suppose. Okay. Always does so much damage to the ship to go there. And a red dwarf, a supernova, or another red dwarf. Let's see. This is as far out as I'm allowed to look. We could take that red dwarf route, but it means that we will have to hit nearly every one of these stars to actually jump out of there, whereas there's more variety over here. We're less likely to get screwed over. Let's go for the riskier jump, I suppose. I was blasted by an electromagnetic tsunami. I didn't pay attention to it, but it could have been radio or TV waves. I would have liked to watch an alien TV show. Okay. How are we doing? Need more fuel as usual. I'll go here. Yeah. And just keep doing this pattern. Oh, that one was rough. Okay. We got basically nothing for that. We lost resources for that one. Oh. To a white dwarf. Butterflies flit from flower to flower, gather pollen, and enable the reproduction of plants. Sometimes when I learn a new technology from one planet and I show it to the inhabitants of another, I think of myself as a butterfly, spreading life unknowingly. Wow, there is nothing here but this one rocky planet. We're just gonna go. Blue giant. Thermal contractions and expansions have cracked the oxygen line. It took me a few long minutes to repair it, during which I was in a total panic. Now there's a big white cloud behind my ship, and not much left to breathe. Just another day in space. Lost 20 oxygen. But a signal? A signal, you say? Ooh. An upgrade to the telescope. It acquires multiple images of stellar bodies and compares the differences, just discovering additional orbital objects that would otherwise be hidden. Neat, it's an interferometer. Okay. Ooh, a shield generator. Okay. The basic space folder, so... Oh yeah, that can go with me! Alright. And I'll need a spot for the drill. This has even less space than the previous one. That's so sketchy, but we're gonna try this. Yeah. It's a much better ship. In fact... Oh, we have, like, no fuel. Uh-huh. Found some helium. Tempted to break down the shields just to have an extra cargo slot, but it's gonna protect the hull so much. Oh, it's hard to say. I wish that I could refill things from the probe, but the probe has to be down there. And we're up here. I'll note that the oxygen usage is way less on this ship. Telescope required. Oh. Oops. Can't. Oh. If I dismantle that, I lose resources. I just have to go and hope. Day 81. I fly over the surface of a planet with a very shallow atmosphere, hoping to find someone or something that can help me. The planet's surface suddenly trembles, and an immense pyramidal creature appears before me, obstructing the nearest star with the size of its body. The huge eye of this creature cracks open and looks at me. Its immense tentacle grabs my ship. I'm busted. The creature, however, is not trying to crush or eat me. It examines me. Be friendly. Out of scraps laying about my ship, I've made a sign of my peaceful intentions. I hope you can see it. You know what? It worked! The tentacle had retreated, and I flew away very quickly. While the curious eye of the creature was still staring at me, my first friend in this strange space odyssey, a 6-million-ton friend, who will never be able to come to my parties. I'll be seeing you, buddy. What an interesting little blip in our story here. I heard a terrifying metallic thump outside my ship, but it turned out to be good news. It was a tank drifting in space filled with fuel. I call it Providence. Whoop. We'll hold off. What you cooking tonight, Tristan? They who weren't here? So there was another surge of pressure in the oxygen line. Everything turned red. For a brief moment, I looked death square in the face. Just another day on Death Ship number 1. I mean, this is a different ship from the previous ship. The worst situation that could possibly happen has happened. I miscalculated my course, and the space folder delivered me to the very surface of the star. The landscape is certainly beautiful, bathed in liquid fire as it is, but I've always felt hell is best observed at a good distance, and at 5,000 degrees, which is very high already, my bulkheads rapidly began to deteriorate. If I don't leave in moments, I will be baked to death. Problem is, the corona of the star is about 1 million degrees hotter than its surface, and I have to pass through it to escape. What should I do? Cooked onions slowly for 1 hour and 40 minutes, and also cooked steak and potatoes. That slow cooking is really good on the onions. Caramelization is wonderful. I quit dithering and activate the space folder without setting a destination. Reality twists around me and I'm warped far away. I have escaped death once more. Whoa! Yeah, no, if you cook onions down far enough, they start to turn into candy. Alright, so we're running short on fuel. Not as bad as I thought, though. Is that a rocky planet? That is. So we're just going to continue. A space station fit for an average human being, still huge nevertheless, circles around the star at a very low orbit. The star is fluctuating spasmodically, giving rise to solar eruptions as spectacular as dangerous. Outer walls of the station's deck overlooking the star are transparent. The view outside is magnificent. Inside, a curious device is installed pointing at the raging sun. Its purpose seems vague. My arrival ruins a delicately adjusted balance of gravity. I will most certainly be blown to pieces in the imminent explosion. I suspect this device is here for a reason. Maybe it can help me? Ooh. Alright, Colt, which option should we go with? Activate the random device, examine it, break it, or try and fly away? Break it. Alright. I break the device in pieces and start looking for its energy source. Permanent lack of fuel for my ship leaves me no choice. Curses, there's no hydrogen, no helium, nothing but... Hey, what's that? Kind of looking like a black energy container. Might be useful. Searing heat wave engulfs me when the star redoubles its activity. I have to get away. Fast. The ship has taken damage. Progress saved. I found a strange black boxed object. Don't know what it was. At a space station. The hull has been repaired. Well, I guess I don't need to go mining, do I? Very nice. Gonna need fuel at some point. I remember a long time ago that I climbed a hill not far from my home to watch the stars. I imagined wondrous civilizations on opulent worlds and ancient, beautiful beings living out their strange lives. Now that I'm trapped among them, I miss my hill. Aww. Broke the probe again. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Hmm. I have to think now. What else could I build? The telescope requires silicon. Oops. Well, let's go to a rocky planet. I don't have fuel to be warping around. Thorium. Also something I don't need. Yes. Well, we're gonna warp back now. Till we run out of fuel. Yep. That's fine. This will be my last entry. My fuel tanks are empty and I have nothing to produce fuel with. I return to cryostasis and let my ship drift in space. I hope that, through the millennia to come, someone will rescue me, but there's a thin hope at best. This is the end of my adventure. This is the end. My ship has reached its limit. As I have so many times over the course of my journey, I've taken too many risks, but I make peace with myself. But the cocoon is glowing, growing, burning. It's attracting me, drawing me in. It expands and breaks up my ship like a parasite hatching from the host that has fed it. It's a ship, a very small ship, but I'm still alive. I still have a chance. I'm a little bug. I'm a little space bug. Wait a sec. Okay, it has a space folder. It has a reactor. I don't have a way to get iron to make a drill. How do I... Oh. Oh. We have the same problem here. Oh, no! I got stuck. This doesn't happen often where it sends you to a place where your ship can't go far enough. But yeah, this actually is the end of this journey. I was thinking that because I had the cocoon, I might be able to fly a little bit further away than the other ship, but no. This is it. I don't think there's any other interaction that can occur. I think I just have to fly until I run out of fuel. And that's the end of this ship too. Lucky me! This is incredible, but I managed to get here with minimum resources spent. Shall I thank the Supreme Powers for my survival? And why did they do that? Now I need to somehow replenish my resources. This will be my last entry. Okay. What a silly little adventure. Let's try this again. Let's see. Wasn't a bad start.
I'm an
Thank you for the
astronaut
reminder.
aboard the
Oh my. Alright. Oh, I need to turn off the tutorial thing in the intro. Okay, yeah. There was a frog in your kitchen? How? How did a frog, like, sneak into your kitchen? Also, welcome back, Busta. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Please. I have got to remember to turn off the tutorial on the next one. I've discovered a small rogue planet of an unusual color, light brown. I assumed it must be composed of some rare material, or maybe it was some kind of man-made vessel. I landed on the surface and activated sensors. Still nothing, so I put on my spacesuit and went outside, and was immediately glued to the ground. The material was definitely carbon and water, but under the action of a nearby star, the entire planet had been cooked into... caramel? I turned and saw my ship was starting to sink. I cut off a big piece of the weird substance and headed back on board, smearing caramel everywhere. I must act quickly before the planet swallows my ship whole. Wait and see. My terror mounts as the ship sinks into the caramel, but a few hours later, when the planet turns to face the sun, the surface warms and turns to liquid. I slam the engines into overdrive and escape without taking too much damage. Now I have enough candy to last me weeks. What a strange little story. How am I doing? I'm doing alright. It's been an interesting day. Got a lot of unpacking done and made some really good stir fry. Ooh. Eggs. Oh wow. Yep. I'm an elder gay. This pup isn't exactly a pup anymore. Oh, I'm a lot more than 10 years older than you then. Are you young? Well, according to human life expectancy estimates, you've got quite a bit of your life ahead of you still. We'll say that. That's a whole mood. I believe that if this log survives my adventure, it will serve an example for all future generations. Well, generations to come. Read this. When people tell you about an easy job, know that no job is never easy. When they tell you there's easy money, know the money isn't for you. Oh, and if you're reading this, it means I survived much more than you ever will, so stop whining and get back to work. Yeah, Colt knows what's up there. I lost the first half of my 20s too. Making a lot of bad choices involving various substances, so yeah. Yeah, there's a difference too. Is legalization, whether it's actually legal in a given state that you're in or not, has swept the entire globe in a way that never could have been imagined during my upbringing. So, yeah, we live in a very strange future. More eggs! A black hole, a yellow dwarf, a neutron star. Let's see what's over there. On my way to the next star system, I received a very strange radio transmission. Hoping for the best, I changed my route to track it. Red herring, it was just an electromagnetic burst coming from a small and lost star. Hope is painful. You've lost fuel. Garden planet. Land. The breathable atmosphere of this planet has allowed me to restore my oxygen supply. Look at these plants! Look at these weird little eggs. Let's say hi to the locals. Well, I'm not going to try and read all this because I'm going to end up accidentally saying something in a different language that I don't want to. But the language in this game is something that your captain will learn over time with each successive run. And each time that you start a new run, you forget everything that the previous captain learned. But by speaking to the different species that you encounter from planet to planet, you can start to piece together a functional language that'll let you converse with them. For now, all I can do is either agree or disagree with something. In this case, I have no idea what I'm agreeing to, but we're going to anyways. Rigel from Farscape. I never got to watch Farscape. It wants something from my cargo, iron. Give it one. The alien seems to like my gift. You've learned friend, want, omega, and iron. You've learned shared cryonics, and you've lost a single iron. Yay! That's so cool! Okay. We are running very short on fuel. Let's see here. Use. Nope, drop. Yep.
build a new drill. Okay. Oh, right. Shared cryonics. What does this do? This alien device increases the versatility of the cryonic system by allowing me to enter cryostasis for shorter jumps, thus increasing resource efficiency, and I'll spend less time waiting and doing nothing. Requires cryonics, upgrades the ecosystem. Does the ordinary cryonics? It doesn't. Okay, so you have to have both. And I'll need cobalt. Won't be the easiest to get a hold of, but it is something I could try and work towards. In fact, no. No, I won't find it on this planet. We'll take off for now. Eat the eggs. Wish I could. A white dwarf? A white dwarf, and a red dwarf I can't reach. The cosmic rays from a local star were bombarding a powerful magnetic field, creating an open space, an aurora borealis as big as 1,000 suns. I was enthralled by the unspeakable beauty of this giant luminous arc. That was, until I discovered the magnetic disturbance had erased entries in my database. You lost shared cryonics! No! I just learned that! Oh, that's terrible! Rocky planet. Can't go there. I need fuel. I need fuel, and I need to do a short jump to be able to... Oh, this is gonna suck. Iron termites. Yes, I know how crazy that sounds. Have dug holes all over the ship. I had to drown them in liquid nitrogen to get rid of them. A lot of devices are out of order, and one of them bit me. It was unpleasant. I hate everything. Alright. Gas giant. Oh. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to. Gonna have to. 25? Mic check. Audio. Audio? Audio. Audio? Audio. Audio. Well, my mic says I'm live. Anything? Okay, cool. Mm, 25. I can't believe I got 25 for that. Oh, my telescope broke. That was the other thing. Lovely. Yellow dwarf. Meteoric rain fell on the ship like iron hail. I managed to divert my course in the nick of time and lost only a little fuel. Nothing to worry about. Rocky planet. Everything's so far away. We're just gonna go the... You can't scoop that. You need a special tool to be able to do that. I'm just gonna have to fly. 18, 16, 18, 19... 7 fuel... Space unfolds, and I am no longer in space. I'm inside a giant structure. Huge, dark spaces and long tunnels made of nothing and yet clearly something.
This kind of construction could explain the mysterious dark matter that our scientists are still trying to understand. I wander it aimlessly until I find a curious light. It blinks yellow and blue. Nearby, 3 large tunnels full of colored crystals yawn open invitingly. Should we take the yellow, the green, or the white? Green Glowdog. I fly through the green opening. Nice. It widens until quickly I find myself once more in open space. Curious. Rocky planet. That's the end of this run. There's a leak in the ship. The loss doesn't bother me much. It's less than 1 kilo per hour, but the leak leaves a bright trail behind the ship. There are enemies here. I'll know soon enough. Gas giant, gas giant, gas giant. At 0 fuel, you give me gas giants. End of journey. Ah, lame. Lame. Let's give this one more try. This time, we're turning that tutorial off. Ooh. Reach. Oh. Interesting. Okay.
I'm an astronaut.
Yes, you are. You're such an astronaut. A small spot was shining, far away, a comet. It was coming fast, straight at me actually. Then I realized it was the size of a planet. I had to use the full power of my reactors to escape, and believe me, I barely made it out. Already? This was terrible! Yes, I love the way that they did some of the animated backgrounds for this. Well, we got the squid again. That's good, I guess. Ooh, different species. Rock people. This time we'll disapprove. They want something from my cargo. The alien seems to like my gift. Emissary, Fear, Omega, Gravitational Well Generator. Copper and Thorium. This module upgrades the space folder by virtually increasing the mass of the destination star system. Thus the ship can make jumps to more distant systems. Ooh. Alright. See what else we find. I have escaped death far too often. It's an old friend now. Oh, whoa! That's so cool. Okay, we'll do repairs. Feed in some oxygen. Planet Lovecraft. Yo, this is what happens after Sunless Sea, I guess. And transfer all that. Finish here. We're already out of fuel. We're already out of fuel. Alright. So little fuel. Okay. It's another rocky planet. We'll try this one. Hopefully we'll get thorium this time. Hafnium and silicon. Think faster in the void. You may say it's an illusion caused by the fear of what's out there, but I think not. Far from the huge masses of the stars, physical limits change. I feel my brain working better. Maybe that's why I understand these alien technologies so well. Got a bit of a problem here. Blue giant, red dwarf, red giant. My path crossed a most curious comet, idling on a strange orbit, a tiny ice ball seemingly waiting for me. It took me a while, but I managed to fill up some of my tanks with water and oxygen. Resource management sucks. It's funny because it's like this is the kind of game I want to play right now. Stresses me out so bad. Yellow dwarf. One of my devices was vibrating weirdly every time I turned it on. Assembled improperly, screwed down badly, I don't know. It's hard to build clockwork quality equipment with nothing but random drifting salvage. So it finally broke down. I need to fix it up. Just have to continue. Don't really have any other option there. The puzzle. An elliptical space station orbits around the sun. Its access door is firmly locked. The lock itself is a tangram where symbols have to be placed in the correct order. I see the symbols of oxygen, iron, helium, and many other. In so-called instruction manual, I see symbols of small sphere, an arrow, and a large sphere. What's the order of placement? The door opens. Aha! I just had to place the elements based on their number of baryons. The giant station is nearly empty. Only a single container is floating in the center. It's full of dark matter. I think I just made quite a discovery. 2 more Omega. And a ship. Alright. I don't even care. I don't even care anymore. Cool, we got 3 Omega. And the technology known necessary to make cooler, more advanced transit system. How's the... Wait. Huh? Huh? How? I mean, I'm not going to argue. That's very handy. Okay. Cool. I just found out the ship has no fuel. Oh, thanks for using all 3, I guess. I would have been happy to use just 1, you know. If I could stare deep into the palm of my hand, I would see organic molecules made of atoms. Atoms floating in an emptiness as vast in proportion to their size as the distances between stars. There's no way to seize the nature of an atom. I think this is perhaps some reality vertigo circus created to conceal this fundamental truth. Atoms are actually stars, possibly the same stars I see right now through the observation bay. Our world is a folded fractal. No fuel. The moment I switched on the space folder, my ship was peppered by micrometeorite storm. I've contained the leaks with a little tinkering, but I've lost a lot of fuel. Gas giant. Hello? Did space come and go? This part of the ship is damaged. I'll have to repair it if I want to install new equipment or set up a warehouse here. Those all require cobalt. Okay. Iron and silicon to make the space folder. Can move the platinum over here and do a neat trick. Yeah. Oh, I still need the thing for that, though. Oh well. Okay. We're also still very, very, very short on fuel. Oh, we're not. Good, 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 good. Just a generally better ship. It is the space come and go. We are now in the space come and go. That's a rocky planet. Maybe we can find some thorium. Nothing. There's nothing here, which is a good thing. But of course, as soon as I thought nothing, something happened. Let's say, some crystal thingies grew around the ship. Then I lost consciousness. I remember being asked many things, and I know I have something else in my head now. I have to take notes. Right now. I think it's a new technology. Okay. Take off. Yep. Topped off everything. Back to there. Oh, yes, the Ultra Probe, which I can make right now. This device multiplies the efficiency of the hydrogen probe. I can even use it around stars. Where's my probe? Bam. Oh, they're not linked. Interesting. Sometimes when you get a higher technology object, you can link them for even further increased efficiency. But for now, we got uwu big warps. Without warning, all of my tools and buckles fly through the air and stick to the wall. Through the observation bay, I spot a small pitch-black asteroid. I get closer and determine it is pure magnetite. The magnetic force is extremely powerful. I drill and extract a few tons of ore. I'll need to use a lot of engine power to escape. You've lost fuel, but gained iron. We have a lot of iron. Like an absurd amount of iron. Still not what I need. $7. You've got to be kidding me. $7? That's not even worth the fuel it took to get here. Okay. Ooh. That's a fun background. Leave that behind. Yep. Next. This off-orbit gray planet with inclusions of violet is cold and rocky. Human-sized constructions, houses carved in the rock, occasional tissue scraps waving my precious oxygen breeze. I should refill my reserves. It all looks oddly familiar. And then I see a temple carved in the rock. My God, these columns are so familiar. It looks fragile. Should we scan the exterior or the interior? Here lies a half-buried spaceship, an ark that used to house the settlers that came from the mother planet. Nearly everything is broken and destroyed, although it is clear that this place of worship was very popular long ago. All of a sudden I discover a weird module, which I could reproduce on my ship. Looks like its purpose is relocation. You've collected oxygen. You've learned life and technology. Gas, gas, gas. We gassing up out here. We found come and go. Probably hold off on any more. I'm tempted though. You know, is how little fuel actually gets us anywhere. Wait, did I repair that? Okay, I did. Next. I entered the system during a full solar flare. Streaks of fire towered over millions of miles in open space in all directions like the columns of a divine temple. I wasn't afraid, for I've decided there is no more beautiful place to die. 4 planets! Two rocky, 2 gas. Okay. I'm still looking for that thorium, which I'm starting to wonder if that's a garden planet thing. Thorium! We found it! And tungsten! And a refill on our iron. Very, very nice. Okay. We still need cobalt. We're not that far off on fuel, and there's 2 gas giants here. Take the tungsten. Okay. That half name has been hard to find. The tungsten has been easy. I guess we'll skip that. Yep. Move this over here. And Gravwell generator. Linked. And this is what I was expecting the Ultra Probe to do. Alright. So let's see how far that lets us go now. We're still going to need oxygen soon, and we are running short on fuel, although we have some. Let's just take off. Oh wow, that goes way further. 54 fuel use, though. This would have saved me in that last run. That's it. I've lost all my hair to the gamma rays. It's floating around in the cabin, causing an enormous mess. No more eyebrows, no more arm hair, no more, well, you get the picture. And I think people on Earth pay for that. I feel like I'm just a big smooth egg. Okay, we're short on oxygen and fuel. Let's use this. We'll go grab more fuel. I found a helium pocket on the planet and scooped up a lot of it. It's always nice when the day starts off well. Good. The other one's another gas. Oh, it's a rocky. Well, we already got the space folder. Really, really advanced space folder. Holy cow, that goes way out there. Well, this one's technically further, so we'll go here. I've discovered a station orbiting dangerously close to the sun. It is very old, but full of advanced technologies. Looks like its prime purpose was to extract the energy from the star. The station hangars are spacious. The atmosphere is rich in carbon dioxide, but poor in oxygen, so if I want to explore, I have to carry an oxygen bottle with me. Large polished mirrors are floating around, held by invisible supporters. They concentrate the solar energy, distributing it to a strange mechanism with blinking Hifseri, and Hefalsa indicators. The last symbol flashes in blue, then green. Examine. I spend a long time and nearly all my oxygen trying to understand the principles of this mechanism's operation. All I learn is it's partially biological, and the ship is beyond my reasoning. I return to my ship without success. Garden planet. And a gas giant. Good, we needed this. Use. Use. We'll stop here. Launch probe, that's fine. Repair probe. We're dropping that thorium because we don't need it now, hopefully. Now that I've said that, we're going to need it. Okay. And refill our oxygen. Whoa! So this person says technology. That's the only thing I can understand. We'll approve. They want either iron or hafnium. Let's give them the hafnium, it's harder to find. The alien receives my gift but doesn't seem to like it. Oops. Sorry. Oh, we were curious if cobalt was a thing that could be found here. And what do you know? Okay. Very nice. Okay. We're just gonna continue. Okay. I only spotted the black hole at the very last moment, hidden in the outer edge of the star system. I went full throttle, but it wasn't enough, and in the end I had to eject quite a bit of tonnage to reach escape velocity. I don't have much left now, but at least I'm left alive. You've lost copper and platinum. Honestly, I apparently had a lot, so that's good at least. Gas giant. Ooh. Okay. And we'll swap out the extra iron there. Finish. No, we'll hold off on that. Well, that sure seemed useful. We're getting much further than last time, so that's good. My ship approaches this huge and strange construction. It's really alien, very different from anything I've ever seen before. Words appear on my computer screen. I want to point out, look at the scale, because this isn't foreshadowing, or this isn't foreshortening. This is actually like to scale in relation to the size of massive ship I'm piloting right now. Words appear on my computer screen. Words in my own language. Man from the Earth, we are watching you. Your journey is about more than your mere existence. Survive, and we shall open the way to your eternal quest. Come to Star and Bar. There you shall find the answers you seek. Ooh, we're not that far off. Tau stasis requires 6 thorium. Alters the flow of time around my ship. It only works when the ship is in the pocket universe created by the space folder. With it, the ship can jump much further. Upgrade the power even further. Needs 6 thorium. But at least we now know that thorium comes from the garden planets, so I can actually, like, hunt for that this time. A little less aimlessly. We'll use that. Hey! What are you? Croissant. Achievement unlocked. Croissant. Look at the ecosystem on that thing. What a weird ship. It has so much less storage, but with that ecosystem, I wouldn't need to bother as much with oxygen. See, that isn't even close to all. I actually like this ship that I've been running. We're just going to continue. Space French. Nothing left to drill. Okay. All right. I thought this was a space station, but in fact, this is a ship. A ship with its bird-style wings spread out and facing towards the sun. It is huge. I land my ship in an inner hangar. It appears to have been empty for centuries. There's nothing here besides a relatively small, twice my ship, mechanism in the ship's central part. It emits some ray towards the star. Examine the mechanism. Due to its size, I can understand how it works in every detail. I don't know how it affects the star, but I'm sure I can reproduce this technology. Too bad I have no idea how to run this ship. Death Seed. Truly a deadly device. When combined with the mysterious power of the Omega element, it increases the mass of a target star beyond the Tolman-Oppenheimer-Volkov limit, thus transforming it into a black hole and eliminating all life in the local system. I love that I got spooky music after discovering this technology. My space folder teleports me right to a curious sight. Two large space butterfly-like creatures try to approach one another. Violent solar bursts of force one of them to retreat, and it's about to be lost in infinity. Both of them are transparent, glowing with ghostly, pulsating light. Pierce one of the creatures, try to connect them, leave, create a gravitational well. Well, this is something that I have the option because I have the technology, so let's give it a try. I create a gravitational well between these two creatures, naturally drawing them together. This is a strange, a bit grotesque, but a touching spectacle for such anchorite as me, seeing these mating games in outer space. After an hour of joyful dancing, they fly away, leaving droppings of strange matter behind. I could make use of it. They create Omega. That's wild. Oh, let's refuel. That would take all of my fuel. As with that. Okay. Suicidal atmosphere. There's nothing left to pull up from the star. I used up everything useful that the star could possibly have for me. The absurdity of that. Oh, I can use thorium to repair the ship. That's interesting. Okay. Let's try this one. Low on oxygen. There are countless stars packed together in this system. They seem to be dancing with each other. It's fascinating. Thousands of planets, both living and rocky. I know it's not normal. Could it be a mirage? And yet they're here. I'm coming in closer. The planets look fantastic, but they disappear all at once. A black hole suddenly appears like a hidden predator. Its gravitational lens effect was deflecting the images of distant stars. I go flat out to escape its attraction. That's 3 rocky planets, no oxygen. Dancing with the stars. Speaking of, let's go scoop up some more of the star here. Oh. A white, elongated cloud isolated in space. I analyze it and discover that its hydrogen and H2 molecules have aggregated here due to the strange gravitational properties of the system. Or for some other reason, maybe. Who cares? My tanks need filling. Alright, we've got a garden planet here, so let's land. More oxygen, always good. Say hi to the locals. Aren't you a little weirdo? Star Bob's life. Approve. The alien doesn't want to talk anymore. Oops. Oh well. Drill. We found gold. The creatures are so fun. I love the way they're designed. Okay. Spooky music. Oh. Hell yeah. I didn't even realize I had that extra slot still. Alright. Doesn't left to drill. Okay. Oh, down with that button. Oh, we might actually get the green ending here. That would be cool. I remember a time when my main problem was not having paid the electricity bill on time. Ah. Rocky planet, gas giant. Let's go there first. Also, let's go take a look at that ship first, because... Hey! Drifting around the star, I discovered an abandoned ship. A meteorite has placed a gaping hole in the hole. Its inhabitants are all sucked away. They drift around the ship. But... It's so horrible, but... Thousands of dead humans floating around the ship. This means that while I was sleeping, my people have conquered the stars. Finally, we can be reunited. Agitated, I searched through the databases, but everything is written in an obsolete language I barely understand. All I could learn is they fled from a terrible enemy, and they're hoping to find an isolated system, hoping to find a habitable planet. I found the system's coordinates. If these people are alive, I could... That's... What? That's so far away! Show cargo. Oh. It needs tungsten to repair. I don't know what to do. I don't want to abandon them. I mean, how do I unfreeze them? Yeah, exactly. I'll have a crew. Take them to the sun. The sun. The sun. The sun. I need to finish more of Sunless Sea, so you get some of those jokes. It feels like a crime to leave them behind. Hafnium hasn't been used. The platinum does get used. The oxygen will be needed. We're gonna take 60 people. That's 60 people. That's still way more people than we had of one. Oh, wow. I've never actually seen this part of the story before, so that is wild to me. Okay. Okay, alright, okay. Rocky planet, gas giant. We're always gonna need more fuel. Like, it's not even a question. Oh. Dang it. Oh, I broke the probe. That really wasn't worth it. What do World War I aircraft pilots and Earth-Jupiter spaceliner engineering crew have like myself have in common? I'm not going to read this out loud because stream, but we may die. But to people like me, death is an old friend. I believe, above all, that we are curious and adventurous. What greater adventure is there beyond death? Sorry. Getting silly. Broke the probe again. Repair. Transfer all. No further fuel. That's fine. Refuel again. Earth to Jupiter was also Dune, wasn't it? Hey, Ryan Gosling. Good to see you, hon. And Doom. And thank you for the reminder to hydrate. So we are in a very interesting session of Out There, because like the first two runs I just kind of crashed and burned, but this time we do love to drink water. Everybody out there, go drink some water. But normally in this, I usually just kind of crash and burn and drift aimlessly. We got really lucky, managed to get one of the larger ships, and picked up some interesting Interesting. The captain figured out they're not the only human left. We found an entire other ship full of humans with a spaceship full of language that we couldn't even read. Considered obsolete, which is interesting because the captain of this ship has been drifting through space and time using warp technology in a way that even they're not aware of how it fully works. It just does. I love this game. Yeah, you voted for this. Honestly, I believe the same, and that's part of why I was like, I gotta grab these crew. It seems like a crime to just leave behind. Like, I hope that the rest on that ship managed to find somebody, but somebody found them this time. Somebody that had at least enough room. The breathable atmosphere of this planet has allowed me to restore my oxygen supply. This is a beautiful landscape. Can we just set up a colony here? Can we like make friends with the locals? They're biblically accurate angels. The alien places something on the ground and runs away. And we dropped our carbon. Okay. Gotta grab fuel somehow. Okay. Now it's time to have to make some absurd decisions. The atmospheric control on the ship is so good, I actually don't need the additional oxygen. Finish here. Refill. 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 Okay. Let's go. Uh-oh. Oh, that's terrifying. Okay, so that planet is like right there. What a surprise! Orbiting around the stars, a strange little device. Small as a satellite, open like a flower and facing the fires of the sun. The petals of the little satellite are constructed of pure gold. It looks inactive, but I am a few million miles away from it. It appears to be an extremely efficient and powerful planetary scanner. I take notes on its functionality and leave it intact. If I can make one of my own, it will come in very handy. Video scanner. Oh. That's pretty cool. Okay. Okay. We'll start here. Grab some fuel. Refill on fuel. Go back over here. Grab... I mean, I already flew here. I may as well. Yes, land. Okay, this one does use the thorium to repair, if I remember correctly. And at a higher rate than usual. Some platinum. If I had had tungsten, I could have repaired that other ship and actually made use of it, the one that had the humans on it. So I finally now know a reason to hold on to tungsten, but the likelihood of being lucky enough to run across that, like, you're better off picking up the ship and then trying to mine for it. Interesting. Okay. Repair the ship. May as well finish the repairs. Okay. I love every, like, planet. This, you're right. I could see this as being, like, background art for, like, Metroid Dread, easily. The star is right there. We might actually finish a storyline in this. The reactor was shaking badly. I determined that some internal component must have broken down. I opened the housing to check it, and to check it out, and was suddenly deluged with hot fuel. I fixed the problem, but lost a lot of fuel in the process. Ah! Hmm. Okay. Fly back over here. Land. Get some air. These are such pretty little paintings, and, like, a lot of it's just... I'm taking notes as an artist on how to do these kinds of backgrounds for future use for my own stream, because I have within me the skill set to recreate things like this. Yes, it's me, the talkie dog. Whoa! So, the other species told us to go to Star Enbauer. I want something from my cargo. Let's try iron. Aw, didn't want iron. But Babetha means want. Good to know. Let us continue our little journey here. Oh! No, I'm getting further away! No! I fly to a strange structure made of stone and metal. It is covered with many ship-sized entrances. While considering my options, an invisible force suddenly grabs hold of my ship and draws me inside the structure, led by a mysterious blue light. I soon arrive at a junction and find my controls restored. There are 4 exits here, one marked with a 0, the other with a 1, a 2, and a 3. Which should I explore? Wow. At some point, I should actually, while using the actual stream dashboard, learn how to create polls. So we're going to take a second. We're going to give this a try. Question: which gate? 0, 1, 2, 2, and 3. We'll do 2 minutes, which gives me a second. Interesting. Yeah, it gives me a second to go refill my water. I will be right back. Thank you. My apologies. Thank you for confirming that. Alright, so we've got a new garden planet, another gas giant, and that warped us back. I don't think I'm going to find better options on being able to get down to that one. I might not be able to make it to the green star, and that makes me sad because I actually wanted to see where that story was going. Although the orange star was where the ship with the leftover human crew was pointed towards in their star maps. So maybe I should try and go for that one. I mean, you say that, Colt, but I'm gonna have to like take you seriously at some point. 53. We'll start at the gas giant here. Running out of iron again. Alright. Say hello to these folks. Oh, wow. Star iron. The alien doesn't want to talk anymore. I said something wrong. Oh, it asked if I was evil. Oops. Drop down here. Mine some more magnetite. Wow. Well, that was not worth it. What kind of an emote is that? The frozen tardigrades seem neat. Oh, you can adjust the emotes. I forgot that's a thing you can do. You squished the ball. Good job. You've done it. Hey, Dan. How was work, hon? Let's try and grab some more fuel. Ooh, the supernova is gonna hurt. Alright. Nothing else left to drill, though. Well, still got 40 fuel out of that. Doing all right. We're having a real interesting end of run on this third attempt on Out There. Basically picked up, I think, 3 of either 4 or 6 endings. I don't remember how many there are in the game right now because they keep adding more stuff to it. But when you get to an ending, that's it. That's the end of your run. So we've got 3 different endings to choose from that we can try and go towards. And one of them that's really interesting to me is we found other humans out in space. And so I'm trying to figure out what to do with them. And one of the places that we could try going is this star system that we got pointed towards. It's down where this was it the red or the yellow? I think it was the yellow. And this green one was another thing that we got told to go to by a giant interstellar gas station sign, is the best way I can really describe what we ran into. Well, let's continue this way, I suppose. The space folder malfunctioned and I found myself far away. Very, very far away. So far away, actually, that every galactic cluster in the universe was just a tiny spot glimmering in darkness. I used the space folder again, hoping to find the way back to where I came from, and it worked. It's a miracle. If I'd known, I'd have taken pictures from the far side of the universe. Well, I don't have a camera anyway. You lost fuel. Ooh. I should have used the thorium for that just now. Oops. Yeah, definitely should have used the thorium for that. Okay. I mean, we broke the ultra probe, but we got a lot of fuel there. Nothing that I know of on the ship requires cobalt to make, so we're gonna drop the cobalt. Just max out the fuel. It's all gonna get used. From jump to jump to jump, it's all gonna get used. Let's see. Rocky. We have oxygen. We found out that going that way doesn't help. Blue star. I saw a huge grayish mass in space and feared trouble again, but it was actually a massive ball of ice. I thawed it out and filled my tanks with water and oxygen. Intergalactic Ice Cream Man, I don't know you, but I thank you. Oh, a certain strawberry cow has just gone live. Well, human ice is a bit more advanced. I was like, I don't need the cobalt. I can just throw the cobalt away. Oops. Big oops. Very big oops. Alright. Build the ultra probe down here. It's also the last of our iron, so we're gonna have to stop on this rocky planet as well. Okay. Hafnium isn't useful for what we're doing. Aw, thank you, Cal. It's good to see you, hun. Yeah, I hope you get to drop by sometime. We play a lot of interesting games on this stream. Alright, folks, should I go left or right? Do I want to try to get to that green? I don't think I can. Or should I just continue onwards to the red and yellow? Let's see. It's worth a try. Emotionally attached to the human storyline. Okay, so that's further to the lower right. I accidentally sliced off a bit of my finger while servicing one of the techs. I tried to cauterize the wound with a soldering iron. Bad idea. It hurt. On top of that, I dropped the iron and burnt a hole through a piece of equipment. Some days, nothing goes right. Ah, damage the space folder. Glad we got extra iron. Got a garden planet. Very nice. Whoop. Close that. Okay. Cauterize a wound? I mean, yes, in theory, yes, you could do it. I would never recommend it. Alright, we'll stop here and say hi to these folks. Another Tolkien-esque planet. The Amger Fear Enbauer, Amger Fear Zult Balgu. Me want Ansu, me Barbza Omega. Well, Ansu is a new word, so I'm assuming this is thorium. Nope, it was iron. I don't need any of these things. We'll take the gold just because it's something, but... Extreme squishing force. Gonna need to get more platinum soon. Running out of that. It's right there. No. In the distance, there seems to be a spaceship. Have a good one, Ryan Gosling. Thank you for dropping in, hon. It's a huge one. Millions of other ships fly with it. Unbelievable. They look like humans. Me people Balgu. Me and Laras people Balgu. They attack me. I wake up several hours later. I'm alive, but things are not looking good. The ship is badly damaged and so are some modules. I think the ship's computer is out of order. What did I just meet? I took a couple of minutes to calculate the origin coordinates of this huge ship. What will I find in the star system? So many things. We lost out the Tau stasis, which is something that I was working towards trying to be able to build. We lost the cocoon. Wait, we flew past there. Huh? The aliens. They look like humans. I love that kind of twist in sci-fi too. Like, we've already been here before. Okay. We'll get more fuel if we wanted. Which we will. Also need more iron, because we're running short. Just look at that. Another one of those. How handy. Okay. Still can't believe I wrote that. It's 6 casualties with a crew of 1. Yeah, I feel awful. It's amazing that Alright, so I'll note. Did they get on the ship? Because, like, it says that they attacked me. Did they disable the ship? They broke a bunch of stuff. They, at any point, could have just, like, killed this captain. They obviously had an entire armada ready and willing and waiting. So why didn't they? Things I'll have to figure out later. Yeah, they stole my space cocoon that creates squid, which I don't know why they wanted that, but they took that. Yeah, I'm not making it back to that one. A very small automated space station orbits here in the outer reaches of the system, probably dragged here by accident. No openings, but I was able to recover a small fuel tank. Yes. Very handy. Ooh! It's the space croissant. Ansible. Now that is neat. Also, the last version of the ship that we ran across was completely shredded. This one, not so much, but... That one will salvage a cobalt. I don't want to do that, but I need the cobalt. Silicon, iron, plat. You just, dismantle all of them. What? No, other way around. Okay. We're not going to stop for fuel here. We're just going to continue. Yep, we're just going to continue. What a strange little monster. Aw, thank you, Lumomancy. Appreciate having you support us. What a strange little monster. Some kind of long iron worm embedded in the hole. I only found the little gremlin because I discovered a white cloud trailing behind me in space. Little bugger ate his way through an oxygen line. Ah! Garden planet. Good, good. A friend! A bad friend! Heck yeah, I'm glad you like the emotes too. I got more coming up as soon as Twitch wants to actually let me use them. Ooh, stuff just glows here. Star barbs are life amgar people mkinba. Gafila want life? Yes. Me people mkinba. Me people good. Me trade. Barbza's trade technology. Let's try hydrogen. The alien seems to like my gift. Me anlar gafila. Symbiotic extension. What does that do? Platinum and iron. Another extraordinary technology, almost incomprehensible to the human mind. This module extends out into a fractal structure connected to my vessel by a gravity well. I don't know the purpose of this incredible device, but I could certainly use some extra space. No way! It says I need 5 platinum and 5 iron. Wait a sec. Something just glitched. Something just very glitched. I just duplicated my platinum and I don't know what I destroyed in the process. That's interesting. Hell yes. Oh, that's so cool! My ship is so much bigger now! Okay, so what else? What else could I do? The telescope could be useful. Let's get that up and running. And I have one goal, so let's also make the geoscanner. Okay. Use that. Whoop. Take off. Yes. To the gas giant probe. Wait. Scan plus hydrogen. Okay. Interesting. I've never had the scanner before. They preyed on me like a storm of micrometeorites, a sort of spacefaring race of nanobots that fed on the heat from my reactors. When they were done, they repaired a little bit of my hull. A thank you, I guess? Hydrogen plus. Yeah, I'm not sure what the plus inherently means, but... So what happens if I scan a star? Hydrogen and helium. Okay. Destroyed the ultra probe. Oops. Rebuild that. Transfer all these. Extra full on fuel, which is great. Hell yeah. Wow, if I didn't have the space folder, I would be pretty SOL on some of this. Scan. Low chance of thorium, low chance of tungsten. And what did I need? I needed... I didn't need anything. I don't have the Tau. Oh, right, they took away that technology from me. Those bastards. Okay. Neutron star. Huh? Oh, I'm still on the surface of the planet, aren't I? No? I'm confused. Why won't it let me fly there? I thought there was nothing there, or even worse, a black hole. The reality is different, impossible, and incredible. Something enclosed the entire star system in a giant sphere made of black matter. I see nothing except a cube-shaped construction orbiting the stellar sphere. The word glyph Royce is shining blue upon it. Eject some platinum. Let's beat it. I think the glyph means platinum. I eject a ton of metal into space. The glyph then starts to glow and the platinum boils away into nothing. The words N-bar are rendered in my mind, and the stellar sphere disappears, revealing a magnificently bright solar system. What was it? A prison? Or some kind of laboratory? You've learned judges and architects. We've got some gas giants. We have a lot of fuel. That was a lot. Ah, okay. Gafila is you. Me want Ansu. Me trade Omega. Ansu. Oh, results is God. Ansu is iron then. I don't actually need anything from this planet, so we'll just continue on. Head over to the gas giant. So it's got some hydrogen. Okay. Same here. Okay. Use all that. Wait a sec. I don't think I can get back after this. And I ran out of fuel. I made an error while calculating the expected speed of the ship. This is upsetting. I had to use a lot of fuel to correct my approach angle. I need to focus more. It's not the edge of the map, it's the edge of my transit distance. I can't go past that point. My ship can't fly that far. And the Tau stasis module that I would have been able to use to extend my transit distance is gone. It's a very well outfitted ship, but unfortunately, it does have its limitations. So we're gonna try to get out of here. I have a lot of fuel, thankfully. Like, the game just started kind of chucking fuel at me. But there it is. Well, it's not just backtracking in this case. You are expected to have some of those technologies to be able to go places. First, everything went red, then black. That's when I realized the oxygen was filling up the cabin. Blind and almost unconscious, I quickly put on my spacesuit and waited. When I came back to my senses, I found the problem a break in the oxygen line. I lost a lot of air, but at least I survived. We're doing great. It is. It's really bad. We do still have some Omega to help, but it's not going to be easy getting out of here. We'll use this as well. Vacuum cleaner noises. Okay. Okay. There's stars right at the edge there, and if I had the Tau stasis, I could just fly over there. I could. It would be so nice. So nice. My only hope is that I can somehow bounce over to here, but even going to the right wouldn't be... Maybe I was wrong. I've already been here. This isn't... Is this new? I no longer remember. I've been traveling in space so long. We'll grab some fuel. It's, very procedural. Okay, this is Space Croissant. Which I've already scrapped. Okay. I can't believe blue is up that way. Oh no, I forgot about oxygen. Yeesh. A huge and elongated manta ray, 10 times the size of my ship, and hungry. I slammed my reactors into overdrive and jettisoned some fuel to hide my escape like squids do on Earth. It worked. Oh. Space manta ray. Ansu's iron, which we've figured out. Oh, it's not. If I didn't have the Ultra Probe, this run would have ended so long ago, but the fact that I'm able to scoop the stars themselves for materials has kept us alive. Just barely. I'm sailing through a dense interstellar nebula. A cloud of blue gas is pulled up alongside me, matching my speed. It has taken the shape of my ship. It circles me as if it were curious, Is the cloud trying to communicate with me? Send a luminous message. Yes. Not all roguelikes have storytelling. A lot of them ignore storytelling, and that's something that you'll find that I'm discerning about in my games, is that I like tell-em-up roguelikes. I like ones that have an inherent story to them that is locked behind the difficulty curve of the roguelike itself. Also, I've been playing this one for a while, so like some of the things like me figuring out the translation of the language, you wouldn't get in the first run until usually you've done a few times and met a number of encountered species. But yeah, I love the ones that actually have story to them, because like Jupiter Hell, great game. It's a tactical top-down shooter that's kind of a puzzler, but the story is it's Doom, and it's the same as every other story of Doom. Jovasek is in trouble. Time to go send the soldiers out there. And, like, that's great if you're into that story, but it's been told so many times by now. And this instead is something more like an episode of The Twilight Zone. I flick the lights on my control panel. My strange companion does the same. Doesn't attempt anything further. However, unable to communicate, I eventually leave the nebula to enter the system. What could it have been? Oh. Okay. I'm trying to decide if there's anything else that I would want for the ship. Just do our usual dismantling, I guess. Arthur C. Clarke, choose your own adventure. I like the way you think. We took some damage on that one. Ooh. A gun for the ship to discourage shenanigans. There are no weapons in this that I found so far aside from the Death Seed. I could create the Death Seed and start just murdering people. I only need one thorium, and then I could start using the dark matter, the Omega, would allow me to actually fight back. But I've never actually tried a combat run in this before. I really didn't get much in the way of anything to make my way out of here, did I? 33. 33. Split. Use for fuel. The star probably could have been born there. A massive amount of hydrogen condensed into a little cloud so viscous it synthesized its own fuel. I stole as much as I could haul. Okay. We need that iron. Ooh. Yeah. Starting to rebuild things a little bit. Could probably drop this platinum soon. Holding onto the cobalt in case I find something else that needs repaired. Okay. I did not expect the geoscanner to be as useful as it has. The gold or the copper. We'll drop the gold. Okay. Today, I crossed the drifting body of an alien astronaut, some kind of octopus. Its helmet was broken, but it had a couple of intact oxygen tanks. Tonight, I breathed to him. Octo friend! Okay, we've taken some serious hull damage. I have to find a rocky planet soon. You gotta be kidding me. What? Oh, does anybody else recognize that ship? That specific ship? A certain Hunter Class 2 gunship. Oh, I love it. What does she have equipped? What did Samus have equipped? Okay. This device requires a shield generator to function. It uses the resonant frequency of the ship's superstructure to monitor and adjust for the speed of all local particles, thus maintaining precise temperature control. It can even protect the ship against the fury of a star. Ooh. Okay. Okay. How is... Yes. I was afraid of that. The cargo space on my ship is just so much more right now. What would I lose? If I were to do this, what would I lose? If I dismantle that, it turns into thorium. I need copper and iron and thorium to make another. Okay. Copper. Iron. Move the oxygen. Dismantle this. Put this over here. Put this over here. No. Well, the system components are different here. The whole top of her ship is storage? And then the components all are in a V shape. Oh, that deleted those objects. Drop the platinum. We need that iron. Drop the copper. Get the silicon. And... oh, we are running short on oxygen in a hole. I'm sorry, other space humans. I'm sorry. I don't have an option here. Yeah, we are switching ships. I found Samus's Hunter Class 2 gunship. The power and ecosystem on it are wild compared to the previous. I should be able to just kind of fly away. Yeah, that really was a trolley problem. I feel bad. Right. Show cargo one last time. Oh, that's it. Let's hope that her ship can fly further. Whoa, wrong button. I was struck by a flash of gamma rays that could kill even the hardiest astronaut. I smell like grilled meat, but somehow I survived. Oh, and I think it erased a couple computer entries, but since they're gone, I don't know which ones. Well, unless I find that technology again, this is our last ship. We will not be switching. Oh. Okay. Cancel for a sec. Use. Alright. Okay. Yeah, I don't really have an option here. Okay, finish. Moving on. It's hard to change direction at faster than light. Sadly, I didn't see that huge white space whale in front of me. My engines cut a huge gash across its side. Feel awful about it, but its internal fluids flowed over my ship and somehow repaired my hull? What an unpleasant irony. Space station. Why is space so aquatic? The hull has been repaired. My apologies. I just had to. Sometimes the urge takes over. Okay, we got Garden Planet, Rocky Planet, Gas Giant. Let's try talking to these folks. Nothing I can really use here. Confirm. Okay. Encounter. You're an interesting folk. Yes. Barbza is give, not trade. Good to know. Oh yeah, we need iron. This isn't the place where we would get it, because this is a garden planet, not a rocky planet. Moving on. My chat here for a sec. It would be nice to know if thorium would actually repair this ship better than the iron, but no way for me to tell. We did get the iron at least. Looks like no. Okay. It's something. Hitting some hard choices here with the smaller ship. I don't quite know what that means, Colt, but might slightly be insensitive. Not entirely sure. I don't think if I get here that I'll be able to go any further. The ship took a wrong turn, and I was subjected to a blast of gamma rays. I did a quick checkup with my onboard equipment. I'm okay. Well, I may develop cancer in a couple of years, but right now I'll be happy if I survive to the end of next month. More people, more rocks, more gas. Say hi to the people. Ah, it's these folks again. We fear the Gafila. You feel the friend, death, friend, evil. Me people fear. You, friend, death. Oh. Psst. Yeah, the me people good. The way that I figure is broad translation, the idea of galactic translators aren't going to be good, and the best they can get is an aggregate. I am unfortunately affected by the theoretical super future ideals of like how Star Trek handles it. Enterprise did a really good job of explaining before they had the technology of computers that could do the translation work, before there was a galactic translator, they had a person who happened to be a language specialist trying to figure out language on the fly during brief interactions between a captain and another starship's captain or planet or whatever. In the course of a single conversation, would have to try and figure out how their language even works in the first place with no baseline. And that puts into perspective like how difficult it is to actually translate new languages from a point of perspective of there's been zero communication of any sort between this species and this other species, or this civilization, this other civilization. The other direction that one could go is to say like cave speak, but obviously the species that we're running across have technology. They have steel buildings and lights and stuff, and it's assumed that it isn't magic.
Let's see. Oh, I didn't get much of anything from that, did I? I messed up here somewhere. What was I doing? Oh, that was even worse. I just spent fuel on something I shouldn't have. Ugh. Okay, this one at least. Yeah. As useful as that Omega is, it might be better for me to grab the fuel. But we'll hold off. We'll hope for the best. Hope has led us to nowhere. We aren't making it. In fact, we've been to each of these places. We can't get any further out that direction. We're going to run out of fuel again. Hello. That is some wild technology. I kind of forgot that that even was an option for me. So the symbiotic extension doesn't care about the original shape of the ship, it just adds 4 additional slots, which is very handy in this case. Can't get there, so we're gonna try and go this way, I suppose. Am I dreaming? At the heart of an asteroid field, I spot a light pulsing gently. A hidden space station. The field is quite dense. Heading in with my ship would be very risky. I could go in alone to my suit, but that's no less dangerous. We have oxygen. Should we fly in? Or should we enter with the spacesuit? Check a thing over here real quick. Alright. Well, I'm not sure. I guess let's... We don't have a lot of fuel. I put my suit on. As I could be a while, I take a large oxygen tank that will also propel me through space. I float slowly around the dancing rocks, feeling strangely free, and arrive at the blinking point. What a disappointment. It's just a piece of quartz spinning and reflecting the light of the star. Great. Now I have to go all the way back to the ship. I lost 1 oxygen. A space station, rocky planet, gas giant, gas giant.
Next, go over here. Also just hydrogen. Okay. Ooh, that one's better though. How did you turn around? They kicked the quartz. It's amazing how much fuel we burn just bouncing around this single star system. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Tungsten and hafnium. Well, let's grab some iron. And we'll go over here to the station. Nice. I was wondering if that was what that was. Okay, so we can't reach the green. We might be able to get back to the blue. Disaster has struck a rocky planetoid, a giant metal worm, and by giant I mean it is visible from orbit. It is tunneling into the rocky surface and destroying the entire ecosystem. Enormous lava rivers rip up to the surface with each new tunnel. In a few days' time, the planet will be dead. In the meantime, there seem to be some valuable materials in the tunnels, but is it worth the risk? Activate shields and plunge towards the planetoid, protected from the flying materials being spewed by the worm every which way. Deep within the mineral-rich mountains, I come across something very valuable. I didn't come here for nothing. A space eel. We got some rocky planets. We got some more gas giants. Let's go ahead and slurp up some more hydrogen. One iron or one hydrogen. We'll stick with the one iron. It's actually worth more. It is silly that it is worth more. Okay. Can I get to that one? No. Alright, this one then. On the outskirts of the system, I encounter a massive ball of ice. It's been trapped there for many millions of years. My onboard instruments detect a nucleus, but is it a treasure or a pile of stones? I'm going to drill. I plant the drill into the ball. Chipping away at ice is a tricky business, and it doesn't go well. I destroy the contents of the ball, a metal sarcophagus of sorts. Well, I can use the metal at any rate. When I remove the bit, it's in pretty bad shape. It hasn't been a good day. Okay. Okay. Use as much of that as we can. This is going to start getting difficult. I see additional routing up that way. I know we have to go left to get here. And now we're hitting things I've seen before. A magnificent sight, a cluster of comets crossing the sky and rushing towards the system's sun. Comets contain a lot of water, and therefore oxygen. Should I attempt mining them? Follow the comets. I enter into their orbits. As I near the sun, they vaporize, and I easily salvage a lot of water that I evaporate into oxygen and fuel. Terrific! Very nice. Alright. Lots of hydrogen for this one. Yeah, we got the materials. Lots of hydrogen for this one. Heck yeah. Very useful. Alright. There's blue. We can get to blue in 2 jumps. I'm pretty sure blue is Judge's Architects. I wanted to go for yellow or red, but I don't have the technology. Let's go for blue. A Kugelblitz, a black hole formed from sheer radiation evaporating in the distance. It is brighter than 1,000 suns and deadlier than 1,000 neutron stars. Power is already starting to mess with my equipment. I'm in a very tight spot. What should I do? Take shelter. I enter the shadows made by a cluster of asteroids. I'm acutely aware of how powerless I am in the face of an evaporating giant, but I move along with the drifting asteroids and I find myself out of danger before long. When I switch my controls back on, bad news. My ship has been damaged. Will I be able to repair it? Yo! Oh, that crunched that. Yeah. That crunched that and destroyed the iron that I had for repairing all of that. That one needs platinum and thorium. Yikes. All that extra fuel that we had, it's gone. What do we got here? A rocky planet. Well, we need the iron. We have no shields right now. Well, here's the thing. We won't need any more fuel or oxygen or hull. This is the end of the story. For this chapter, at least. So, let's find out what happens next. If I wanted to make the Death Seed, that is concerning. And this is the actual use of the Death Seed, if I had it. If I had the gold and the thorium and the cobalt, which makes me wonder. So cobalt is the last thing that I'm missing to be able to make that and bomb those fuckers. Unfortunately, this means that I don't actually have what I need to finish the story from this location. We are very hurt here. Okay. My electromagnetic sensors have gone crazy. I got a message from an object close to the star. Well, sort of. Characters and words are beyond my recognition. I can't understand a thing. But when I approached the star, I realized the full scale of this tragedy. The station lost its orbit and is about to fall into the burning sun. It will only take a few days for the sun to completely devour it. I see no way out. What shall I do? Interesting. I'm going to try and fix it. I hooked the station to my ship. I almost burned out my reactors fighting the star's gravity field, but managed to change the station's orbit successfully. You'd normally expect some gratitude for such efforts, but no, the station is dead silent. I'm cursing all the civilizations in the universe when my board computer finally lights up. Oh, a gift. Additional orbital objects that would otherwise be hidden. Is that the reason that I haven't been able to see? Is that it? Have I just not been able to see the jump points? And I could have gone there this whole time? Yell at the cryo-human. Just go down from the deck. Hey, all of you bastards, I saved you. None of you can hear me right now, but I'm working my ass off out here. I'm trying to keep you people alive. We found a garden planet and a gas giant, a couple of them. Let's see if we can hopefully... Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. We have damaged nearly every component on the ship. Everything but the warp drive. Gas giant, garden planet. Our old ship wouldn't do this to us. I'm quickly reaching a point where I'm going to have to start using the Omega to repair things, because it's going to be the only way I can make it out of here. Yeah. Okay. I can't believe... Like, as long as I keep going to new star systems, I'm going to keep getting resources. That's a given, at least. Some of these transit distances suck. A simple cube-shaped station fashioned of white plastic drifting by. As I get closer, my sensors detect a very powerful radioactive source, which could be deadly. Should I explore anyway? Yes. Tough decision. Eventually, I decide to fly into the cube. The Geiger counter doesn't beep anymore. It just plays one long note. I take a look around, and I'm in a warehouse full of raw materials. Before the radiation overwhelms me, I take everything I can and head back to the ship. Feeling burnt from the inside, I discover that some of my hair has fallen out and the radiation damaged one of my modules. My ship will survive. Not so sure about myself. Rocky planet. We found one finally. The reactor allows me to hop from planet to planet within a given star system. Oh, okay. So much better. Okay. So I guess just in case that happens again, I should probably leave stuff inside the ship instead of in floating subspace. Oh no. Getting away from that one. I suddenly find myself in front of a planet in the throes of chaos. The ground is shaking and forming huge cracks that can be seen from space. The inhabitants flee in all directions in thousands of spaceships. I feel tiny and ignored from this unfolding cataclysmic disaster. Land. While dodging the raging elements, I strive against the tide of the fleeing population. When I land on the planet, I turn on the oxygen tanks and gather as much O2 as possible. I still have a couple of hours before the planet explodes. I decide to take a look around. The ground is shaking and I keep losing my balance. In the rubble, I spot a device that appears to store technological data from this world. I take it back to my ship as the planet begins to disintegrate. Magma boils out from the rock and threatens to consume my ship. I escape into space, barely. Void fluctuation projector. Oh no, my ship just broke. Huh? If it's gonna let me, I'm gonna just do it. We have 2 hull. Okay, I can't build anywhere else on this ship. And I can't dismantle the thing without completely destroying it. I'll put the tungsten away for now. You again! If it comes back, it loves me. Well, unfortunately, I don't have the materials to rebuild everything from the ship on the other one again. Plus, I would need cobalt to repair the damaged parts of that ship. It is one of the bigger ones in the game, though. However, the sheer amount of additional upgrades I've got on the Mark II gunship is so much better right now. The rocky planet. Oh. I don't think this is going to be enough. This might destroy the ship. and flying elsewhere with the other one wouldn't necessarily save me. Oh, this is... Do I do it again? Do I jump back over to the other ship just because it's got the hole in the fuel? I don't... Let's hope. 2 damage. Alright, we can do 2 damage. Maybe we'll find a repair station again. I don't know. Incredible. In the upper turbulent layers of the gas giant's atmosphere, I see a metallic platform. It looks like a takeoff deck. I land there, fighting the terrible winds. Creatures looking like colored whirlwinds approach me and speak through my computer. Me mirrors. Me give technology. You give Brois. You give Albior. The winds grow stronger, nearly scraping the hull of my ship. Let's give platinum. The members accept my gift. In exchange, they upload a very interesting information to my database. I take off and fly away, fighting furious winds. I lost cryonics? Huh. Yeah, I don't remember that. Our hull is at 1. It has iron. You know what? They're very nice pirates. That did so little to repair anything. Holy cow. Oops. I mean, at least we got that. Yes, I'm aware. Okay. Oh, where's that? Did not expect to get our ship hull repaired that readily. On a low orbit close to a star, I detect a kind of, let's call it a ruined shipyard. There must be some useful materials over there, but is it safe? Use the shields! I activate the shield and attempt a quick fly over the shipyard. I don't have much time, but I quickly steal 2 pieces of equipment from a half-molten ship. I hope they can be of some use. You've learned subspace reactors. You've relearned the thermal resonance generator, so I can now make my shields again if they break down, which is good. Let's take a look at the subspace reactor. This module only works during interstellar travel via the space folder. It's a photonic pressure propulsion device that reduces the amount of fuel necessary to travel through interdimensional envelope created by the space folder. Upgrades the power further, requires 4 hafnium. We have 2. The only way for me to take full advantage of that would be to destroy the scanner. Which isn't required for what I've been doing. Oh yeah. Shield generator boost, which would be cool. I would need to have the telescope for the gravitational lens to work. Requires telescope. Okay. Well, that sucks. Okay. Hmm. I mean, I'll take that. That's actually very useful. I wasn't expecting to pick up extra iron. I don't even know where we're just cruising now. Like, we're going away from things. It appeared like a ruby in space. I fly over a small moon alive with intense volcanic activity. It is red with lava, other than a few isolated dry patches. I spot a block of Omega floating to the surface, indicating possible telluric activity. But can I risk going in any closer? Turn on the thermal resonance generator. I got just the right gear. I'm perfectly safe as I fly over to the mesmerizing flow of lava to salvage a little Omega. The detour turns out to have been very useful. Just vibing with my frozen friends in space. Use that. Stick that over here. Hmm. What if I did just... I have an idea. Okay. We were right. There are other jumps that we could have taken, and we just couldn't see them before. The gravitational lens is necessary to get to the end. Okay. I'm going to take a short break. I didn't expect this to go so long, honestly. I thought I would have crashed and burned by now. It's kind of the nature of these games. We're going to take a short break. I need to kind of like get up and walk around a little bit. I'm going to have some water. I hope you folks do too, and I hope you're enjoying the story because this has been an interesting run. I will see you in just a moment. We're going to turn on that No Thoughts Head Empty music and be right back. Well, hello, hello. Hello, Raiders. Welcome. Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate you, Emily. Hi, everybody. Welcome to my strange little show. Yeah, we do a lot of roguelikes here, and I've been enjoying doing a lot of space tell-em-up storytelling type games. Oh, thank you, Hunter. Hi, Blingo. And appreciate the assistance, Colt. All right, well, appreciate seeing everybody drop in. I suppose let's continue our strange little story here. Let's switch things over. Oh, OBS, please work with me. Okay. All right. Yeah, people getting their founder badges here. Appreciate you folks. All right, so tonight we're playing a game called Out There, and it originally came out on mobile, and I picked it up, I think, on Humble Bundle. And hi. This game is one of those resource management ones where with each step that you take, there's usually a little bit of story and a little bit of struggling to put your ship back together because it's constantly falling apart. And what we ran across here is, it turns out this entire time that I've been flying my strange little ship around, I've been using basically current era human technology stuff to see around, and I just now installed gravitational lensing or interferometer style lenses so I can actually look out further into space. And it turns out this entire time, the reason that I couldn't reach some of the places I was trying to go to is because I quite literally couldn't see them. And so a bunch of new spots are now on the map, and I'm trying to decide what direction I want to go. We started out way up in the upper left here, and we've been traveling for a minute. I've actually gone all the way down this way, and you can see that I hit every one of these stars in an attempt to try and find where I'm supposed to go next. And it's looking like I might be able to make a very strange backtracking route here if I decided I wanted to. Let's see what happens. Let's try that. I land on a planet with no atmosphere and discover a ship half buried in the sand. I leave my ship and spacewalk over to it, noting the deathly silence all around. I enter through a large fissure in the hull. Everything inside is in ruins, and starlight blinks through numerous cracks. A flash catches my eye, and I look up. I see, oh my god, a meteor shower about to assault the planet. I don't have much time. Explore the bow, explore the stern, or get off the ship immediately. What do you folks think? Where should I go? Now, we know that my ship has, right now, it's got a bunch of really nicely installed shields and stuff. In fact, for those that are fans of Metroid, you might recognize the ship I'm piloting. Let's see here. We'll try the stern. Heart pounding, I head for the stern of the ship to check for salvage. There's a space folder here surrounded by devices that appear to work in synergy with it. The first meteorites are crashing down already, so I grab one of the devices, dash back to my ship, strap in amid a hailstorm of meteoric iron. From the safety of space, I watch as the planet is peppered with thousands of new craters. We got Tau Spaces back! We got it back! Okay, so early on in the game, we lost this technology. It was something that we'd found after learning from some other species that's speaking across space-time itself. This technology allows us to jump way further across space in any given jump. And if I can get the materials necessary to put it back together, then theoretically, I can get to the ending of the game that we were trying to go for in the first place. But again, this is going to require me looping back to be able to get all the resources necessary to do so, because the routes that I've already taken, I've consumed everything along the way. There's no other fuel, there's no other oxygen. I won't be able to repair my ship. So we're having to do this the scrappy way out. The ship has taken damage. Very much worth it. Oh hey, look, a little distress beacon. It's these folks again. Another one. What is this? Solar sails. These huge fractal stream panels can be displayed like sails. They capture photonic pressure, thus reducing fuel costs during interplanetary travel. They cannot be used without standard propulsion. More frozen people. I wish I could save the frozen people. Like, what happens if you just fill up your ship with frozen people? Okay. There's some other, like, weird limitations that we're running across here. Because we've run out of space. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. This ship is bigger. Popsicle people. What was it? Corbin Dallas. I am a meat popsicle. And I would need tungsten to repair these. 1, 2, 3, 4. I could repair all of these. I could repair all of these. I actually have the materials necessary. Hold on a sec. Okay, now, hold on. I need to look at... The ecosystem is not as useful on this, but with the extra ship size... Cancel. Sorry, friends, I need your ship. Transfer all. Let's transfer all the other direction real quick. So... Yeah, I hate doing this. I just put these together. No, don't do that. Give me just a moment. I have to do a lot of reading to get all this put back together in a way that's going to actually take off again. Space folder goes together with Tau stasis. Some more resonance generators for the shields. And we want another symbiotic extension. Let's put that here. Very nice. Next up, Tau stasis. Goes with the space folder. Craft. Next up. Was there... I swear there was another tech that I had before that I appear to have lost. That must be what it is. Actually, let's put the people in there. The telescope on. Yep. Put the gravitational lens back on. We don't have shield generators. And we don't have the technology to make a shield generator anymore either. Okay. Cryonics. Not used for anything. We don't have the shared cryonics yet. Void fluctuation projector is also for the shield generator. Can't build the geoscanner yet. Ultra probe. Oh, I don't have a drill or anything yet. Okay. Move those. I mean, at least the hunter gunship is going to keep them alive. This ship is just so much bigger. Take over the ship. Yep. That took a minute, but worth it. Okay. Bit of a mess. My apologies. Let's see. We don't have shields anymore, so we... Yo! That's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. Okay. I kind of forgot just how... Oh, I don't want to eject people out and just... The ether here. Yeah, I did not realize how much help those shields were giving me before. Okay. 129. Yikes. Okay. Continue our little trip. So far, everything is fine. Yippee. Day 540. Gas giant. Gas giant. Well, we need the fuel. We also need the hull. And we are taking damage pretty consistently. This one also doesn't have alternative repair options. Good to know. Both gas giants. Well. Okay. 12 damage. Alright. That gives me a better idea of how much potential damage I would be dealing with on these. Even so, it's still a lot. Okay. A huge construction is adrift in the outer rim of the star system. A long tube, large enough to pass a small moon, with a small control station floating in the center. I enter and determine that it's an artificial planet that somehow abandons orbit. Lakes, forests, and even gigantic animals are frozen inside the tube for eternity. It's beautiful, and it's terrifying. I mean, this is giving me the option of using the gravitational lens, so let's see. Before doing anything, I surveyed the surroundings with my telescope. On the surface of the planet, I spy an abandoned temple. I land not too far away and refill my oxygen tanks. The temple is covered with alien glyphs, and images are carved in the stone. I think I understand some of it. What a wonderful discovery! I've learned the word for love. Cryptonomicon. Garden planet. Rocky planet. Yellow dwarf. Well, let's fuel up. Alright. Seeing this giant diagonal fidget spinner just kind of like hovering around is so strange. The lava flux melted my drill. Delightful. Transfer all. So the thermal resonance... Wait, subspace reactor is for the space folder. That was the thing that I needed. Okay. I need 4 hafnium, and I don't know where it comes from besides here. Interesting. Oh. Okay. Garden planet. Let's go talk to the people. Ooh. Oh, that water is trippy. Mushroom people. We Urut-Mega feared people death. Love, life, love. We love fear you. You want life? Sure. We want Rubdar. We give technology. I don't know that word in any of the languages. You sound conflicted, mushroom friend. Let's give it tungsten. Maybe mushrooms like tungsten. Doesn't seem to like it. Me people good. Me love you. I don't think you understand the meaning of love. Gives a kind of questionable meaning behind the whole. We learned the word love in galactic standard. Okay, let's grab some oxygen. Hold. Let's not grab oxygen, actually. Finish. I do need tungsten for things. I'll need to remember that. I love you. They don't like this. -2. A space battle. Well, at least I think it was a space battle. Hundreds of ships were towing asteroids and small moons and hurling them at other ships, smashing them into pieces. Not as precise as sci-fi lasers, but effective nonetheless. I hid in the rings of a nearby planet, waited for the battle to cool down. I spent a few days in the shadows salvaging what I could and fixing the hole. Yes! We're short on fuel. Throw rock! Throw bigger rock until enemy stops attacking. Oh, I should have refueled first. That was a bad decision on my part. Okay, we're going to a garden planet to harvest stuff in a second, though, so we know we're going to get more copper. That just shows up on those. So use this. Use this. The rest of that can stay. Okay. Oh, it's one of these planets again. Crystal people! Okay, they think I'm a god. And they give me Omega. Thank you, I guess. I only just now realized that it's a choir chanting the word Omega. Omega! You say nothing, you just stare at them until they put something on the ground and run away. Oh, I should have drilled there. Oh well. Warning. Thank egg. Oh, right. I forgot. Our captain is completely devoid of all fur now because of the radiation they've been exposed to. Unbelievable. I found under a food crate a bottle of champagne. At first I told myself, okay, let's save it for an occasion. The one when I finally meet a sexy alien. But then I thought, I could die tomorrow. So I opened it. In zero gravity, the champagne exploded in all directions. I'm so desperate for a buzz that I've been licking it off the walls. Oh, poor thing. Our captain is having the worst time. Herd party be like. Seven. That is all I got was 7. Is that even enough to fly out of here? Our captain did lose their mind. Okay. In fact, they lost so much of their mind. We're gonna scoop from a star. Well, time to do something terrible. Enjoy defrosting. Well, just yelling at them, but this time we threw some out the airlock. Only a single asteroid is in the system, floating isolated. It is all covered with shiny sprouts of some weird plant resembling a mechanism of arms and interfaces. I approach, and these mecha sprouts connect to my onboard computer. It displays 3 phrases. Me, technology, judges, architects, you want. Star, 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 Rudor. The 4th one is a word that we've seen pop up in language before. I know you've been talking. Yeah, Frozen. They've been talking behind my back. Let's try star 3. I'm curious. The plant grasps my ship with one of its arms, and what's going on? Shining portal is opening, and it thrusts my ship through it. You know, I just got on a path where I would actually be able to do something, and now we've been warped again. Where is it sending me? Uh, 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours of wandering aimlessly through space. Okay. The red star, I think, is one of the human endings. There's also the whatever the Galactic Federation that we just fought was the yellow ending. I think that's their empire. Blue was the home planet that the space pirates came from that we could fight back. And I think green is the judge's architects, or red is judge's architects. I can't remember. Spoilers. Oh. Code red. This will be my last entry. The hull is disintegrating and the whole ship is losing pressure. I'm putting a spacesuit on right now to allow for a couple extra minutes of survival, but this will be the end. So long, may mankind someday find my logbook, the testament of one of their brothers who fought until the very end. This is the end. My ship has reached its limit, and as I have so many times over the course of my journey, I've taken too many risks. I make peace with myself, but the cocoon is growing and glowing, burning. It's attracting me, drawing me in. It expands and breaks up my ship like a parasite hatching from the host that has fed it. It's a ship, a very small ship, but I'm still alive. I still have a chance. I'm back in the squid. Back in the squiddle. With a lot of technology in my brain. And very little capability to actually go anywhere. In fact, I'm only just now realizing you can't install anything on this ship. You are limited to trying to jump to places where you might find another ship. If mankind reads these words someday, or if a superior being finds and delivers them to my people, let them know that I love them all. Playing this game again. During the last trip, I noticed a dent in the hull. Bizarrely, its shape was a perfect reflection of the nearby star. I had to spend some time outside to fix it. You evil, you death? We want Royce, we give technology. We don't have anything for it. Cannot drill. That's interesting that I can encounter them. Huh. I've never had that pop up that way before. Unfortunately, we do appear to have hit the same impasse as last time, and this is going to be the end of this run. We're stuck. There's nowhere to go. It's a really pretty planet. Nothing that I can do here. That's it, folks. That's the end of this run. We're just gonna bounce back and forth until we run out of fuel. Every once in a while, you'll get kind of screwed over by the distance between stars, and you're expected to only be able to go so far if you have the correct technology, but, desperate action. Lucky as me, this is incredible. I managed to get here with minimum resources spent. Yeah, unfortunately, that's not going to help. We're still stuck. We have a very lucky captain. This is the end of my adventure. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're just flying around in a little space squid and everything else, like the roughly 140 people that you had like alive, not breathing but alive on your ship, and you just watch them all die, and just all the information, everything that was brought to light to this captain. They started out as just a random engineer who is riding a ship from Earth to Jupiter for a 3-month short sleep, and wakes up in a completely different galaxy, learns all these things about other species, and finds out that in the time and in the distance that has passed, human civilization did expand amongst the stars much further than ever imagined before, but we still didn't make it. Our little space squid couldn't make it. It was a good story, though. Captain definitely deserves a nap. Oh, TheSandWife deserves a nap. 66 systems visited on that one. We traded ships 4 times, and that's not including the other 3 ships that I saw and went like, no, we don't need that. We're just going to scrap their stuff and continue running. 0 humans saved. So that is a factor in this. If you do get to an ending, you can save some of the humans. I didn't know. This is so fun. Alright. I think that I'm going to call it on that. I would normally actually switch over to some other games after doing a much shorter run than this, but this went much longer than initially anticipated, and I think I'll have to play this one again sometime. Let's go ahead and close this, and we'll switch to our silly little fan art reel. And let me turn on the music. All right. Okay, change that. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. That was a hell of a session. It was a lot of fun. We'll probably be back tomorrow night. I've been doing an average of about 9 p.m. MST to midnight, although tonight I started very late because I had to make dinner. Oh, let's see. Let's see who's currently on. Let's see who we want to raid. Thank you. That was an absolute blast. Let's see. You know what? Koi is currently playing. Let's go ahead and raid Koi. That sounds like fun. Grounded is a really interesting little game, and I've been watching the storyline developing over the last few sessions. So let's do that. All right. So for everybody that came in to join tonight, I hope to see you again. It was an absolute blast having you here. Thank you, Dan, for catching the green Glowdog raid. Yeah, for anybody that wants to, feel free to throw this in. And for those that are not currently subscribed, I believe we also have a 7TV variant of the emote as well. But we will see you folks tomorrow. Have a lovely evening. Thank you very much. Love you all. Bye!
Ooh. Oh, that was
with 6 viewers.
TheSandWife is here.
Welcome back, TheSandWife.
Welcome back. Hello, Buster. Hello. Will. How far away were you?
I was at spawn.
I probably have to respawn at field station.